we've done a lot of Rangers, and we've even compared all of them. But a while back with the release of the Drakewarden, we have some new interesting ways to try to make good use of damage with the Ranger, that being the Drakewarden. Now, with our last build, we talked about the some interesting stuff you can do with just going into Artificer, that spell raw tattoo, and that is honestly potentially really helpful in certain situations, but we'll get to that. So to start, of course, we're going to go into Ranger. We will be using the ASMR for this. I know they're changing it soon, or maybe have already, depending on when this video is released. But since we've done already the comparison video, keeping into account that 20 damage that ASMR have, I'm gonna say we're allowed to do that here because, or it would kind of be unbalanced in comparison with the rest of the Ranger builds. So we're starting, of course, it's the usual for Ranger, which means we want our dex to be highest, so it's 17. Actually, we'll want decent Constitution because one of our builds will use Echo Knight. So that's going to be 15. And then you'll just want Passable Wisdom, so 13. And then you'll, or I would say 14 Constitutions. You can have both 13 Charisma and 13 Wisdom. Next off, we have, so we're going Tasha's Rangers, obviously. We've talked about it before. So we get the extra proficiencies. We get Favored Foe, which allows us to deal an extra d4 at this level once per turn. Level 6, it goes to d6. Level 10 goes to d8, and then etc., etc. So then we go to second level. We get Fighting Style and Spellcasting. Again, it's, well, for the Echo Knight, we won't be doing ranged. So depending on what you're going, you either want to take Great Weapon or Archery. And then we get Spellcasting. I've talked about this before. They're not great for like consistent DPR, except like Hunter's Mark. The third level where we get our Drakewarden. Now at third level, we get our Drake, which can't do too much as a reaction. It can make one of our attacks deal an extra d6 of the elemental damage type we choose for it when we create it. We can create another one. We can create one like without a cost once per long rest, and then we can spend a spell slot to create it again, essentially. So we learned Thaumaturgy, we learned to speak Draconic. Its proficiency increase a lot of its abilities. Its bite, which we can have it do as our bonus action, is going to be d6 plus proficiency bonus damage. Now, then fourth level ASI, we're going to bump our dex, or strength, and we're doing Echo Knight. But then fifth level, we get extra attack. Sixth level, we get that boost to Favored Foe. Get to pick another one, which I think gives us the swimming speed and climbing speed bonus. And then seventh level, we get our next Drakewarden ability, which is the Drake is now medium. It counts as our mount. If we are medium or smaller, and then the bite attack deals an extra d6. And we have resistant to the dragon's draconic type, elemental type. Then 8th level, we get another ASI, gonna bump that. So damage report at 5th level, we're making 2 attacks, then 1 as a bonus. It's 15 as a base with a d8 plus 3 twice, and then plus 20 from 2 sharpshooters. So it's going to be 35, and then 5 levels in, so it's 40. And then we have Draconic Strike as a bonus. So proficiency bonus is plus 3 right now, so it's a d6 plus 3, so it's 7 more damage, which is going to put us at 47. 9th level, we get 3rd level spells. Now, the Drakewarden doesn't actually get any subclass spells, which is a bit strange, but it's solid enough that it's not completely necessary. We get haste now, which is, we don't get it as a ranger, but as for a lot of these builds, for our backgrounds, we go Rakdos Cultist to get haste. We can do that again here. So now we can make 3 attacks. Now, at 10th level, we get that boost again, so it's now a d8 for favored foe. We now can gain temporary HP, d10 plus a constitution modifier, I believe, and it removes 1 level of exhaustion. We can do this at proficiency modifier times per long rest. 11th level, we get our breath weapon from our Drake. So as an action, we can exhale a 30-foot cone of damaging breath of one of the damage types of our Drake. But it doesn't have, actually it doesn't have to match our Drake, so it just has to be 1 elemental damage type. And then Dex save against our spell DC, taking 8d6 on fail, half on a success, increases to 10d6 at 15th level. We can only do it once per long rest, but we can spend a 3rd level spell or higher to do it again. So there's kind of 2 things we can do. Because we have haste, we can spend our action doing the breath, and then we can also make an attack. Now, the breath will only be optimal if there's 2 or more enemies. So we're going to assume that those are the 2 options, right? You have at least 2 enemies, or you have 1, and you're just going to choose to attack, right? So let's compare what it normally would be to the breath weapon. 33 damage as a base, and then we get 3 10s from sharpshooter, so it's going to be 64, and 4 more from infused strikes, so it's going to be 68, and then we get our ASMR damage, which is going to be 11. It's going to be 79, compared to our breath weapon, which means we only make 1 attack, and we still have our bonus action for infused strikes. So in that case, it's 8d6. Let's assume they failed this time, so twice, so it's going to be 16d6. It actually comes out to 79 as well, so they're equal at this point, which is solid. Now 12th level, we get another ASI. We're going to go, now we're going to need to either get Polar Master or Crossbow Expert, depending on which we're going to go, which path we're going to go, because we're not going to be able to spend a way to get a bonus action attack. Or we can just attack with our Drake continually as a bonus action, which also potentially works. We get to 13th level. We get 4th level spells now, which is all right. 14th level, we get Hide in Plain Sight, which is 15th level, a Drakewarden, we finally get our best ability, which so basically now we have 10d6 for our damage. Our infused strikes damage is 3d6 now. I mean, our Drake bite attack. Our Drake is now large. It can now fly. We can use a reaction to have, when one of us takes damage, to give ourselves a reaction to that damage, a number of times equal to our efficiency rest bonus. So essentially now this is more damage because it's 10d6, right? But then we're gonna go into some other levels. So first we're gonna go into Artificer. Now, what this does is, first of all, it gives us infusions, right? So we can have a familiar, because we can get a familiar easy enough. And then we can give, because it doesn't have concentration, we can give it a spell art tattoo of Tasha's Caustic Brew. So it's one of our 2 infusions. So it's going to be an average of 10 extra damage, because that is 5 on each, and if we're using our breath weapon as soon as we have 2 enemies. And we're going to go 1 into Order Domain. The reason why we're doing this is because Order Domain has an ability that allows us to essentially, if we cast an enchantment spell on an ally, they can make an attack as a reaction. What this means, now out with the new enchantment spell, Silvery Barbs, we can almost assume that at some point in the round, there's going to be an attack. Now we'll have to take a feat to get Silvery Barbs. Is that right? Yeah. So it's a bit rough, but it's gonna pay off. Now we can also get this from a background, but then we can't get haste, so it's kind of a pick your poison type thing. So essentially, at that point, with Silvery Barbs, it allows us to re-roll enemy's attack, an enemy's roll, and then give our ally advantage on any of their rolls. And so we can choose our Drakewarden, and then the Order Domain's ability is to give that Drakewarden a reaction to attack. Now we lose our D6 infused striker's reaction, but what we get is better. Another 3d6 plus 10 reaction attack. Now the thing is, we can potentially use our other spell or 2 for 2 things, right? We can give it an infusion for better attacks, or we can give it to our Drake, because they don't have anything right now. And I think that would be better, because that +1 is nice, but we're only making 1 attack, remember. So in this case, we can give it Hex or Brew, potentially. Brew is actually better, because even if we make a bonus action attack, that's only going to be 7 damage on extra from our 2 attacks. If we get Brew, that's a 10 extra. Well, not great. That's going to be 20 total from our Brew and Familiar, which is nice, because it's like an ASMR addition of damage. And then we still have 2 more levels left. Not a ton. We can't do a ton with those 2 levels. We're going to go Hexblade, obviously, which is nice. Doesn't give us a huge boost, honestly, because we're doing Breath Weapon, but still. And then 1 into Rogue, just for that extra D6. Now for this build, we don't have Echo, so we could just, simply do Dex. We're going to have to do a light crossbow for the crossbow expert, so we're pretty pressed on feats, but all together, so we're doing 10d6 for 2 targets, then haste and a bonus action is going to be 2 more attacks, which is 1d6 plus 4 plus 10 plus d4 plus 6 from Hexblade, and then plus 20 from ASMR. Then we have, again, 10 from Familiar, 10 from Spell Art, and then a reaction is going, both our reactions spent is going to be 3d6 plus 6 more damage. Altogether, this adds up 169 total in terms of damage, which is all right. Now, are there other options? Well, we could just go 11 into Drakewarden, which is a weaker breath weapon. So what do we have left? Well, we're basically going to go the same thing. 1 Order, 2 Artificer, 1 Hexblade. But this time, we're going to go 3 into Echo, because this means we're making a melee attack. We're not going to be doing Rogue, because... Now, because of this, we still have 2 extra levels. So we're going to go into Spores, Druid. So now, remember, our breath is only a 8d6. So against 2 targets, that's 8d6 twice, so it's 16d6. Plus, we have Silver Familiar and our normal creature. So it's going to have our Familiar and Drakewarden, which is going to be 20 more from the Caustic. And then we make 3 attacks, Echo bonus, and Haste, which is going to be, we're going to have to do Polar Master, so it's D4 as a bonus, but the other 2 are D10s, plus 4, plus 10, Drakewarden Master, plus 6 from Exploit's Curse, plus 6 from Spores, and then plus 20, add on to all of that from ASMR. And then, now remember, our reaction is much weaker because, honestly, it's probably not worth it to go Order because we're going to have to invest into Silvery, and it's only 2d6 plus 6 at this level with our Drakewarden. So I would say instead just go 1 War Cleric to get that bonus action, so we save like two ASIs, which is better. And then instead we can just use a reaction from our Drake to deal another d6, so we're not missing out on a lot. And then also we don't have to do a d4 bonus, so it's going to be d10. Around 194 damage. So we're like having to use that breath weapon is debatable whether or not it's even better from doing the normal attacks. I would say one of the coolest things is that Order Domain feature, because we get to basically have a stronger reaction. Again, it's not like completely ideal. It's 3d6 plus 10, which is like 16-ish damage, so it's sizable for reaction, but it's nothing like I think like making attack as a reaction from our normal abilities, like we might get from a bard, is stronger. So, like, but compared to our other rangers, it's solid. It compares with certain Beastmasters. It's not better than Horizon Walker though, but it's solid. So that is the Drakewarden Ranger. Thank you for watching. This is Sean from Dodec Dungeon, signing off.